Hello, and welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. We are on our first episode of the series Friends That Were There With Me. And you're going to speak to my good friend, Jennifer Marriner. And let me be clear, we are not paid actors or hired people. My girlfriend, Jennifer, is in Macon, Georgia, and her fur babies are going to jump in the conversation. The camera may be a little bit off, but what is on point is her heart, is her love, is her commitment to our friendship, and her pushing through very difficult moments to be there for me. So I hope you're able to get something out of this conversation that will encourage you to leverage a friendship and be there for a friend that needs you. Or if you're the widow or widower, open yourself up to your friends to be a part of your community and be a part of your hood as you go through this difficult journey. Let's get right into it.
Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello, and welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. And we are kicking off the series, My Friends That Were There. And for this first episode, we have my girlfriend, Jennifer, and I am so excited for her to be here, to be able to talk and share about some things that happened. But I also want to say that I am sorry for your loss. I am sorry for what has driven you to have to be part of this conversation. But I'm glad that we're here so that you know that you are not alone and to be able to connect and know that there are other people going through this journey. That being said, let me introduce my girlfriend, Jennifer Marriner. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Tina.
She is all the way in, where are you at right now?
In Macon, Georgia.
Macon, Georgia, and I am in Virginia. So some of my hood has moved around since we were in Pennsylvania, but we get to have this conversation, and I'm glad for that.
Thank goodness for technology that I'm not good at, but
You're doing good. Can you share a little bit about yourself, Jennifer?
Sure. My name's Jennifer Marriner, and I am a single mom of two girls. They're G&G, grown and gone. They're 36 years old. One of them lives in South Carolina with her Navy husband. That's Kara and Sean. And the other one lives in New Mexico with her husband, Jason. He's in the Air Force, and they have two little guys, Knox and Jameson, my grandsons. They're 5 and 3, and I like to call them the redheaded raptors because they are full of boy energy.
Yes.
But I moved down to Georgia little over 2 years ago to get a government job here at Warner Robins. And I live here with my dog Coasty and my cat Mackie, and we just are really enjoying living in the South and enjoying better weather year round and making new friends and loving life. Just went for a hike this morning.
I saw those pictures that you posted. It looked fun. So you talk about warmer weather. Where are the other places that you've lived?
I was born and raised in California. I lived there for a little over 18 years until my sophomore year in college, when I moved up to Oregon, to Ashland, Oregon, in Southern Oregon, to go to college. My best friend and I wanted to go anywhere but California because we grew up there and we're tired of it.
Right.
So she got into Oregon State and I got into Southern Oregon. So we moved up to Oregon, where I met the father of my girls, my ex-husband. And so we went to school there and lived there for, probably was there about 6-7 years.
Wow.
Almost 7 years. So I lived there, and then I moved to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
well, you had other family in Pennsylvania when you moved there, right?
My mom and dad were there. They had moved out from California my freshman year in college in 1983. They moved to Bethlehem and tried to run away from all their kids, but I found them.
Oh my gosh. So you talk about how many children did your parents have?
My parents, I was raised with two older brothers,
Okay.
my oldest brother, Mark, and my other brother, Kurt. I like to say Kurt's my twin. I was born on his third birthday.
Oh
He
wow.
wanted G.I. Joe, but he got a Jennifer. And Mark was 5.5 years older than I was, and 2.5 years older than Kurt. And Mark was killed in a motorcycle accident when he was 25 and I was 19 years old.
I am sorry to hear that.
So
We have talked about that. How did your brother Mark's passing impact you in your life?
it changed it tremendously.
Okay.
So I was very fortunate that I was raised in a family where my brother was not always the nicest. He was a big brother.
Okay.
He filled the role to a T. Yeah, he was tough on me and babysat me by, putting me on my bed and telling me there was alligators under it. So I
Nice.
wouldn't,
Nice.
so I wouldn't get off the bed.
Okay.
But my parents always let us say, I love you because you're my brother, but I don't really like you right now.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And so when Mark died, it was 2 weeks after his 25th birthday. And I had come down from Oregon from school, and Kurt and I and a couple of Mark's friends and his new girlfriend, we all took him out to brunch for his 25th birthday. So I had just seen him, and I had just seen him a few days before he passed also. He came to visit me at the family that I used to babysit for. I was down at their house at the end of college.
Okay.
But he was growing up, but it was tough. But because we talked about death and we talked about him honestly,
Okay.
that helped out a lot. He wasn't idolized and put on a pedestal when he died.
Oh,
People
okay.
were real about it, and so that helped out a lot.
Okay. So
But
when you say talk, was that between you and your family or friends, or where was that dialogue held?
the dialogue was mostly with my family. My parents and I were very good about it.
Okay.
Kurt had a tougher time, and you could tell by the way that he reacted from everything.
Okay.
So I was back home in Pennsylvania living with my parents in between
Okay.
years in college when everything happened. I had just gotten back to Pennsylvania and we flew back out to California.
Okay.
So I had them around, but it changed my life tremendously.
So
It's,
you say tremendously. One or two things that, if you were to take that word a little bit further and unpack that, what are some specific ways maybe it impacts your life?
it's 38 years and it's a constant. It affects lots of things. Just the
Okay.
simple question of how many siblings do you have?
Okay.
Well, I have one,
Right.
but I had two.
Okay.
And so just simple dialogue with meeting new people and that
Mhm.
they don't know is like, you know, do you go there with it? Or do
Mm.
you sit there and go, I have a brother.
But how does that feel in your heart when you don't acknowledge Mark and you say just one?
I never say just one.
Okay.
It's just that it enters your mind as like, you have to think about it.
Hmm.
And it's, is this a time, do I do this? And are you bringing in too much? Like the people just wanted to like ask you a general question, like, is the sun out?
Right.
And now here you're talking about death.
Okay. So right
So
there, does it seem like it's a taboo to bring that up, considering we live in a world where it is a reality to everyone? But does it seem like it's something you shouldn't say?
so I don't know if it's because of my life. I don't feel like, which is why I always say I had two.
Hmm.
But I know that the perception is taboo. That
Right.
people don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. They're
Okay.
like, they want to say, whoops, I'm sorry, and let me go over here, but it is life. And it is unfortunately part of my character and my makeup now.
It is. And thank you for mentioning that, because the loss of that person will impact you some form of fashion forever.
Hmm.
And I think that's probably also why you agreed to have this conversation with me, you are part of my hood, being my friend. You were one of the first people that spent a lot of time with me in this process, and to not make it taboo, to not make it difficult for other people. And I wanted to hear from a perspective of someone that was my friend in that process. So speaking of that, do you like remember the first time we met or like how we became friends?
We both have said, just, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember if we were in Iraq at the same time, but at different places.
Okay.
I know that, you and Jen were real good friends, and Jeff and I worked together a lot. And so
Mm-hmm.
we kind of got those outer circles kind of merged. I forget
Yes.
what they call that, where the circles, this circle met this circle, and there's that intersection, and we had a new group in that intersection.
Yeah.
And just then things just kind of moved from there. We'd walk and talk and things like that, and have some great discussions. And so came over for a couple of bonfires. And
Yes.
so I was scrolling back over the last couple of days through some of our past texts and Facebook messages and things, trying to put a timeline together of things. And
Where we met, I don't know. I feel like when I came to Iraq, you were there like there was a transition. I don't think we spent the full amount of time there. I feel like I was coming on the end of your rotation and you were
I
coming
think
off.
so.
Right. So I think there was a little bit of changeover with that. And I think then when I came back, reconnected, seeing each other. And you're right. We used to eat lunch together,
Uh-huh.
the whole gang together. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, like when I left, a lot of people left like shortly thereafter because Jennifer left, and Jeff
Yeah.
left also. And Jean's since retired. And I don't even
Oh,
know,
Russ is,
is Russ still there?
I think Russ is still there.
Right. All right. So if they see this, hello guys. So yeah, we used to eat lunch together, and we used to also walk a lot during break. That was,
Yeah.
and then the bonfires and coming over and stuff like that. So I'm gonna shift a little bit. Do you recall how you found out Mark passed, or what was going on with us and all of that?
I believe that in the morning I saw a Facebook post.
Okay.
Yeah, and that just absolutely unbelievable. So I tried to send some messages to, like Jen, or to like verify, like, is this for real, Doreen, to try
Okay.
and verify that it was for real. And then I don't believe in, you know we're not we're much closer than
A general
putting
population
hey,
announcement.
I'm sorry on Facebook, so I sent you a private message, or or a text, and said, my condolences of, can't can't believe, or and what you like, what do you say? I can't even believe this. I'm very sorry. If there's anything I can do,
Hmm.
you know
Did I
and
respond or somebody else on my phone?
you responded. It was hours later.
Okay.
And I can't find that. I can't find, because I know it was Facebook or text message, but our text messages only start
When I got the new phone
like,
number. So that's the
right.
challenge. So yeah, some people
So
have
it
kept
must have
the
been
text.
text.
Yes, some people kept the text
Yeah.
thread from my old phone number. They go, I know we talked about this. And they're like, oh, that was your other phone number. So
Yeah.
that's probably
Mhm.
what happened with that.
Yeah. So I knew when you were ready, you would respond.
Hmm.
So you did respond. And I don't remember how the next, but I've been through it, and I've been through all the whatever you need, and it's you don't know what you need,
Correct.
and you don't, and people don't always mean it, but I mean it.
Right. I
And
knew
so
you did.
it was, we discussed or reiterated, and I love what you needed.
So did you bring blankets and pillows and to the
Sheets.
house?
sheets
Okay, that's
and
okay.
blankets and I think
Yeah,
some air mattresses for your family
yeah, because there
and
were
friends.
probably so the my crew of people from Virginia were all there, which are people that you did meet during the bonfire. But I want to
Yeah.
say there may have been 15 or 20 people in our house
There were
throughout the
everybody wasn't there yet. Just it was just you, the kids, and your brother. And actually, the
okay.
kids were out of the house when I came over.
So if you can remember, what was that like the first interaction seeing me, my disposition, or what were your thoughts at that time?
So, Linwood and I talked about it before I came over
Okay.
because I was like, okay, you're very strong. You're a very strong woman, and I wasn't, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go into a facade of her being very comfortable in that very strong woman, or if she's going to be completely gone.
Right.
So, we talked a little bit about it ahead of time. And so it was kind of casual at first. Just like, here I got your blankets and they're all in the pillowcase. Costy's coming up to see us.
Hey,
They're
Coach.
all in the pillowcase and, like the awkward, uncomfortable, like his initials are on all of them. So you don't have to worry about that.
That
And
was smart though. That helped a lot because I was like, I don't have time to be thinking about that.
right. That took some of the headache away from you when you were ready to be done with everything. And I wanted to make things as helpful, but as easy as I could.
Right.
Because, like who wants to deal with normal stuff when your world is turned around? So we did the normal, like, cursory kind of chat stuff and things like that. You talked a little bit about you guys were going over some bills or something like that, or paperwork and things like that. And so I finally said, all right, but have you cried?
And what did I
And
say?
and you said, looked at your brother and you said, oh, I ugly cried, and slid down the wall, not in a bad way, but slid down the wall and talked that,
Yeah.
that you had cried, and that, you have your moments and you still ugly cry, and you still couldn't believe it. And, and so I was, it's like, it's a tough thing to do. Cause I don't want to make you sad, but your world is going to be sad.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, my family talks. And so I wanted to
Right.
make sure you were talking and crying and not going into control mode,
Right.
and just organizing everything and staying away from emotions, because they're going to come sometime.
And what was your after that conversation? What was your takeaway? What did you think I was doing?
You were going through things normally, and you were dealing with it. You were crying when you needed to, and laughing a little bit here and there, and
Mm-hmm.
having some smiles about some memories and things, and things that are normal for going through a grieving process. Is you're going to be all over the place, but you weren't being stoic, which was what I was worried about with
Okay.
you, because you're such a strong woman, and I didn't want you to hide behind that.
I think
And like,
I don't know where this perception of me being strong is, but I mean I'm going to roll with it. I think it's more me depending on my faith than depending on myself. So
okay.
that strength may come looking in a different package. So you drop off everything at the house. People are still coming in. Did we connect any more between that and Mark's service?
I think that we talked a little bit about it, and then of course got information from Jen and Doreen, and I think that's probably about like the inner circle that I connected with, that we
Right.
talked about when his service was going to be, and things like that.
Okay, so that was so a week later, his service I think was on a Saturday. What was it like at that point for you being my friend in that process, being now at his service and the kids and I, what were your thoughts of what was going on?
I hate funerals because I hate you having to be up front all by yourself when things
Yes.
are gripping you, and you just want to, like, can I just go sit up there and just give her a hug? Can I
Mm,
just, and that's hard. It's there's some points where you can kind of take back the emotions and just listen to people eulogizing and talking about Mark. And I knew you a lot better than Mark. My interactions with Mark had been the bonfires and the one day that I came over to stay with you so they could go to church and everything when you were going through your breast cancer.
Oh, wow. We skipped right over that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, my interaction with Mark. So while it's very sad and everything, I didn't really know Mark that much except for through you and our talks. And so, to listen to people talk about him and to meet some family and things like that, that was, you could kind of like isolate emotions and things like that. But to have you and the kids sitting up front there, and it always gets me at funerals that the family, like, I think the family should, I don't know, like everybody should just kind of sit on the floor or the couch all together or something like that. But it's just, it's kind of tough just to see you isolated up there and having to, just watch this service happen where you're saying your final goodbyes and things like that.
So when did you finally get to give me a hug and feel like, okay, sort of connecting one-on-one again?
I don't think it was till you came back to work.
And I was out for about a good 3 months.
Yeah. We talked. I don't remember going back over to the house. I might have come. It was quite a while till I came and got the bedding and things like that.
Okay.
But it was quite a while.
Okay. 3 months go by and I'm finally back at work. Now you probably picked up the bedding and everything, but it was probably just a quick interaction.
I'm trying to think. I think you weren't even home when I picked it up. I'm not sure what you were out doing, but I think you weren't even at the house at the time.
Okay. I'm back up here.
I think Catherine might have been there.
Oh, okay. So the first time we really connected, you think was when I returned to work after 3 months. But you had to come pick up the blankets. What do you recall about that piece?
I think that we had talked about it, and when I came over to the house, I think that you were not home. I think Catherine was home.
Okay.
Not positive, but I think that Catherine was home and that we got them from her.
Okay. I don't remember that. So that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So me coming back to work, what do you recall about that?
Mama mode. Because you know how Tobyhanna is with talk and things like that. And so people had started talking about, different things and everything like that. And then, people are just nosy and people are crass or.
So while I was out, a lot of people were coming to you because they knew we were close friends and asking questions.
They were asking different things and, like things that they don't like, just how's she doing? What happened?
Right.
When she come back to work? Just the normal type of things. But it's like, you don't need to worry about it. You didn't, like she'll be here when she gets here. And I heard she's retiring and.
Okay.
Like
there was a lot going through my mind. I remember my supervisor, like when Mark first passed, he was like, take your time. Don't worry about it. Then a month went by. He was like, how you doing? How you feeling today? And I was thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I could make sentences because my job was very demanding. And there was a lot to have to be on point about. A lot of interfacing with customers, a lot of different things that I wasn't certain if I could return to doing, if I needed to ask for a different work assignment. A lot of things went through my mind. And at the 3-month mark, I was thinking, okay, Tina, you probably need to figure out if you're going to go back to work or if you're not. And I thought about not going back to work, but then I didn't know what I would do with myself. I didn't know what I was going to do every day. And I felt like going back to work drew me into interacting with people instead of staying at home. So I finally decided to come back to work. But I could see a lot of people asking questions and a lot of people engaging. And so the mama bear was like, did it seem like they were insensitive because they were asking questions, or what was it about it that made you feel you had to bear up?
It's just kind of like they wouldn't ask like how was your day 365 days out of the year.
Right.
So why now? Because, something had happened, and so they were asking things. And so I just, it's enough to deal with the normal people in your life, let alone everybody else, and people coming to ask you questions that they didn't need to be like, when you came to work, you kind of needed to zone in on that and not have to deal with everything else. People come in and making you cry at work, or
Right.
that's, like, let her just have some normal. This is the time she needs to come in and be a little stoic and not have to fight for that.
Okay. So what did it look like to you what do you remember, like, my first day coming back, or what that looked like, or any interaction that first weeks or so?
When you first came back, you didn't come back full time.
You're right. I did do part-time.
You did part time, and you like, okay, that's it. I handled what I could. I'm gonna go home now.
And that's a good point, because I didn't even think about that. I remember coming
Yeah.
back to work and just getting dressed, driving in, and getting there was such a huge accomplishment, and I was so drained.
Yeah.
I got to work the first day, and unknowingly, my supervisor's name was Mark.
Yes.
So I had to utter his name and not fall to pieces in our first meeting. And I was like, I can't do this. And he just looked at me. And because that appearance of strength is what people are accustomed to, I saw him having a hard time reconciling, like, what do you mean you can't do this? And I had to tell him, I'm going to have to call you by your last name. I can't do this. It is going to
Yeah.
and he was just like, I never thought of that, but you're absolutely right. And he
Yeah.
allowed me to adjust to that. I think, I don't know if you remember being at work and someone was trying to talk to me about relationships and how upset they were. And I didn't even know how to end the conversation. I think you rescued me from that discussion.
I remember at least one incident, but I don't remember everything about it. But I just remember that type of thing, that there was times where people needed to be redirected away, or change the subject, or things like that, just to kind of not to keep you in a bubble, not to, but just to ease back into things, and not like slam, here's life back to normal. Because
Mhm.
that was one of the things when my brother passed, was I just couldn't believe that everybody could go on with their everyday life. Like,
Mm.
the world just changed. Don't you understand this? Like, how are you talking about, like, let's go to Burger King? My brother just died, and so I know that everyday life is kind of offensive at first. It was to
Mm.
me. So I think
Yes.
I, wanted to kind of prevent or ease some of that for you at work.
Because my life at work was so public. I
Yeah.
was in people's, so I think a lot of times people thought they knew me more than they did because of the role that I had. So that
Hmm.
made accessibility to me a little bit different. What,
Right.
what I feel like my ability to articulate the fog of just that situation made it so difficult just to engage and talk while I needed rescuing when I didn't even realize it. I feel like I
Yeah.
was a shell of myself to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, people are used to, that's Tina. Tina gets up and talks, and she does like, is it invocations? Like,
Oh yeah.
we,
The things that would work when we didn't have a chaplain. Yeah, I
yeah,
stood in and did that. Yeah.
like, so everybody's like, well, Tina can talk. Tina can, but this is the new Tina, and she's just needs to be here and breathe, and turn on the computer and look at it. And we went for extra walks, and we went for, just sometimes you came over to my desk a couple times, and if I was able to, we'd go for a little bit of a walk or something like that, just to stop the phone from ringing, or the computer. These people kept asking you, things on email, and you weren't really ready to do it 8, 9 hours a day.
You're right, because when you're back to work, people expect you to be on back to
Back
work
to work.
mode. And even though everyone knew what happened, from the people I dealt with in Huntsville and every command I dealt with, literally everybody knew. But when I was back to work, they expected me to be the same person that I
That
was
was
when I was
there,
back to work.
yeah, before everything had changed. And it, like, I have not lost a husband, but I've lost a brother. I've lost, grandparents, my
Mm.
best friend's, young daughter.
Oh,
So I've
wow.
I've been through a lot of death, but I can't even fathom the loss of a spouse. And how much I can say, all right, when Mark died, it was this. When Ashley died, you know, it was this. And I just can't even fathom how much more it was. You and Mark were married for a long time, since you were young, and you were good
Yeah.
friends, and you had a good relationship and a good family relationship and everything. And you've just lost that. How are you supposed to concentrate on work, and then politeness to other people around that don't need it? It's hard. Like, I'll go back to Ashley, my best friend, that we went up to Oregon together. She got married and had a little girl, Ashley Shanae, my
Okay.
goddaughter. And when Ashley was in first grade, Ashley and the little neighbor, her best friend Nick, went to go play with the big kids in Michigan, and fell through the ice, and they both died.
Oh, wow.
Only children of mothers who could never have another child. Um, and Mare and I had been best friends since we hated each other in fifth grade. In sixth grade, we were best friends. We'd been around each other's kids their whole lives and everything like that. My kids had been to see her, and Ashley and Mary had come to Pennsylvania to see us. When Ashley died, Mare and I would talk for hours and hours on the phone, like normal, about nothing.
Right.
And one night I was laying there, and Mary said, "Did Kyle and Kara die?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" "When Ashley died, did Kyla and Kara die?" "No." "Well, then you should probably talk about them occasionally." Because I was
Um,
afraid to talk about my girls, because she no longer had hers.
okay.
And so it's that there's a balance between talking too much about somebody coming up and talking to you about relationships, and absolutely ignoring the situation, and
Ignoring
never
your own
talking
life
about it.
in the essence of that
Yeah.
other person. So the idea of learning when to talk about your life and when not to ignore different things. How did you find that balance with me, since we walked and talked a lot? How did that go?
So when I say you're a strong woman, you've always been a strong, good example to me about things. We talk about interviews and relationships and raising our kids and things like that. And we've talked back and forth, and I've always really respected the things that you've had to say. And one of the most important things about being a good friend and being able to help somebody, here comes the cat, is to listen.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of what I did was to listen to you, and see what you needed, because a lot of times you really tell me.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was, but you would tell me about the different books and things that you were reading,
Okay.
and you had told me about the one, and it's like, like, this lady says, like, nobody ever remembers, like, the anniversary and the anniversary of the death and his birthday or my birthday and things like that. So I put, your anniversary and Mark's birthday and the anniversary of his death and things like that in my calendar,
Wow.
and would make sure that on those days that I started my morning with a message or a text to you about something. And well, I said, you guided me in what you needed, to the point that when you were done with it, you flat out said, it's at some point it's enough, and I'm good without that.
I think it was the wedding anniversary. And it was really a smart idea because my
It
birthday,
was a couple years.
our wedding anniversary is right after my birthday.
Yes.
And it seemed really fun when we got married and did that. Didn't think about 29 years later. And it was getting to a point I was so gut wrenched about celebrating our anniversary. I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy my birthday anymore because it was so hard. And I
Uh-huh.
had to start going, okay. And then I was like, for me, there was nothing to celebrate anymore. The anniversary was a celebration of us continually being married.
Uh-huh.
And then after, I think it was the second or third year, it was like, but we're not though. It
Yeah.
seemed for me so hollow and empty, and made me pissed off to think about this would have been our anniversary, but we're
Uh-huh.
not married. So I'm not counting. Like before it was like, wow, we made 20 and we made
Yeah.
29 and thinking about getting to 30. Now I'm just saying this would have been such and such. It was like, it was it was torture for me
Uh-huh.
to continue doing that. But I am grateful to you and other friends that heard what I was talking about, to take that extra effort to
Mm-hmm.
put those dates down and the value of what that meant to circle back to me. Because when that happened, I was like, they remember?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get washed into the sea of forgetfulness, that it
Right.
was intentional.
Yeah. No, it was definitely very intentional to, and I did the same type of thing with my mom, because Mark died in June, and so it was his birthday was May, and so it was a full year until the first birthday without him. It was almost a whole year.
And you're talking about your brother,
And
Mark.
yeah, my brother Mark. And there's too many Marks in and Mother's Day, the first Mother's Day. So
Yeah.
May was May, and it was all that, the middle of May to the first week in June, everything was again crammed all into that same time frame for her.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark made her a mother. And so I
Oh,
made sure on Mother's Day to send her some flowers and to acknowledge that, that she became a mother on Mother's Day when he had been born, and then
okay.
to acknowledge, that on his birthday, she became a mom on that day because he was her firstborn, and she'll
Okay.
always be a mother since that date. And then, again with the anniversary of his death, and just that you're not forgotten, and it didn't go away because the person went away. That's still, you'll always have part of that as your identity.
Mm.
So
That's important because when we lose someone, it does feel like a part of yourself has gone with them. And
mhm.
I also like what you said about not forgetting them, that you can still invoke their name. You can speak about them, their impact, that impact that they've made on your life doesn't change.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's, that's everybody who's been, like we were just talking, whether it's a season, a reason, or for a lifetime that somebody's in your life. When somebody comes into your life, they impact you, and they've changed your life in some way or form. So you're always going to be a little bit different, whether it was a positive, a negative, or otherwise. So even though,
Mhm.
Mark's not physically here, he'll always be a part of who you are.
Right. If someone came to you and said, my best friend just lost their husband, or they lost their wife. What should I do? What, based on your experience, what would guidance or recommendation would you give to them?
To just, to be still with them at first and listen to what they need. And if they need silence, and just to be in the same room, be there. If they need to be held and hugged and told to breathe, be there and do that. I mean, you have to let that person guide you to what they need. You have to pay attention to them and see where they are and what they need. And
Okay.
you know them. If they're your friend and they've been in your life, and you know them, like, when I asked, had you cried?
Okay.
And then that was part of, to me, knowing that, I know it's all raw, but I know she's going to move through this time, and she's going to process and do things,
Okay.
because I know that you were moving through things and not just. So I would just say, just be with them and just listen, and don't just empty offer whatever you need, because people don't know if they needed 87 lasagnas, or if they need, like, oh, I haven't changed my clothes, or, maybe they need you to go and be with them and say, hey, let's try brushing the teeth today.
Okay.
Maybe, let me answer the phone for you all day or something. Maybe just see what needs to be done to help them out to get through each day.
Thank you for speaking about that, because I remember people asking me or making this statement, if you need anything, let me know. And they would move on. I felt like when I heard it, it was an easy thing that they felt like I talked to the widow, I asked her if she needed anything, I did my service, I checked the block, and I moved on. But people that knew me better, like yourself, they would literally identify something that they knew or felt that I needed and said, can I do XYZ for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because my brain literally could not process, like, what do I need? And to be honest and to be candid, every time someone said, I can do anything for you, instantly in my head, I wanted to say, can you bring my dead husband back? Can you bring
Yes.
Mark back? Don't tell me you can do anything, because you really cannot. And it's not the answer. I don't think I ever told someone that, but that was the narrative that would play in my head. I can do anything, but you can't do anything. So stop offering. But I would just say, oh, thank you. But in my head, there were so many different things. I think I remember saying, don't ask me how I'm doing. Just ask me how I'm doing today. Because I could not, if you asked me how I was doing, that spectrum was so large that it was like inside, I am falling apart and I'm trying to get through this moment right here, just doing that. I think I shared that as far as asking how I'm doing today.
Yeah. And that's what I said. I just would listen to you, and you really guided what, where you were and what you needed. And if you didn't know what you needed.
Okay.
And, so there was times that, we talked about just the simple things about, grocery shopping for the kids, or, doing things like that. I'm trying to remember, there was something.
Oh, that Blue Apron child. I stopped cooking and going to the grocery store. I was like, ain't nobody doing this. Because then Catherine and Alex both went into the military. And I was like, I'm home alone. I'm not cooking. Who's doing that? But I need to eat.
When we had the girls' bonfire, I couldn't believe all those boxes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. We had a private bonfire because everybody was wondering about the bonfire. But you said you had it was you and a girlfriend named Renee. You two came.
A few of us there.
But it was a small, really group. Sorry for anybody that wasn't invited to that bonfire. But you came and we burned things, and we did do that.
Yeah, we burned.
There were a lot of Blue Apron boxes.
All those Blue Apron Hello Fresh boxes.
Yes.
Some cabinet. Because Tina was fixing up the house.
Yes, yes. That was fun
Yeah.
though. It was just a small group. It was like the things we used to do, but not like a big group doing it. It was enough to
Right.
feel like, I don't know, like life was being recaptured because the
And
normal is new.
and reformulated.
Yes,
This was an ease into a new normal. Like this
yes.
is how this could be. Yeah. But all those boxes, man, the whole porch.
It was piled up. You are so right. I totally forgot.
How much did you eat of this stuff? I remember I got free HelloFresh meals.
I would post them on my Facebook, and so anybody
Yes.
wanted. I had everybody trying that stuff. A lot of people enjoyed that for the first time messing
Yeah.
with me. Yes,
Yeah.
it was fun. It was fun. So Jennifer, thank you for having this conversation. Are there some things you think that we should have talked about that we may have missed, or some things you remember that I'm not thinking of, or some words of advice you want to give to somebody?
The main things, like we said, don't do the check the box. Even if it's somebody that's not your good friend,
Mm-hmm.
don't check the box. Ask somebody. If you're not good friends with somebody, ask somebody who is. What
Mm,
can I do?
okay.
What can I do for her, him, that family? Can I go grab some groceries and bring them to the house? Can I
Okay.
come and take some laundry and do laundry? Ask something that is intentional and is helpful.
Okay.
And it isn't bringing a lasagna, because everybody I know that's had some family tragedy has a freezer of 87 lasagnas because everybody thought that meal train was helpful.
Right.
Sorry. I know it makes people feel good to do something, but let's help people with intention and something that is helpful.
What I hear you saying is meet them at their point of need, not
Yeah.
just something superficial. And so
Yeah.
when you say that, how did you get past being uncomfortable to ask me if I was crying or not versus just dropping off the laundry and leaving? How did you get to that place? I'm going to be intentional.
Because I love you enough. Um,
Mm,
and that is true. And I had to, like I said, Linwood and I talked about it before I came over,
okay.
so that I would do that. And I would make sure that I didn't just drop off the laundry and run to where it wasn't uncomfortable,
Okay.
where where I could isolate that this this needed to affect me too. I needed to be there for you to make sure that I was a friend, and I
Okay.
was seeing, if there was anything I could do for you. I knew I couldn't bring Mark back. I know
Right.
that answer. I've lived too many deaths in my life to know it. And that's part of why I'm able to ask those questions and things.
Okay.
I think because I've been through a lot of it. Not a spouse, but I've been through a lot of death in my life.
Okay. So you leverage your past experience with a loss and empathy to go, okay, this person, and looking at it very realistically, Tina's going to need XYZ. Based on what I've experienced, I could see what this is going to look like, and not running away and staying there and being a friend.
I just I had to, it's tough. I'm not saying it's easy. Like I said,
Right.
we talked about it. I probably refolded some of the bed sheets and things a couple of times to
Okay.
make sure I was ready. And then, because who knows what I could have walked into.
Right.
Like you could have been angry, you could have been
Yes.
inconsolable, you could have been had an apron on and pearls and been making meals for 87 people coming to visit
I
and
was not
totally
doing that.
no. But I'm saying, you never know how anybody's going to react in a situation. And
Right.
so you have to be ready to adjust to them.
Okay.
What where are you at, and can I what can I approach, and how can I kind of what can I give you or help you with?
Okay. That is fair. And you have been consistent in doing that. I do remember in the beginning of this reading different books about grief and traveling and talking to other widows and widowers and hearing how many people lost friends in that process because it was too difficult for that friend to engage that widower, so they distanced themselves because it was too painful. And I want to say thank you for, even though it was painful, that you stayed true and have been my friend no matter how difficult it was, because I know that is a gift that I don't take for granted, that I know other people did not have the ability to maintain. So thank you. And thank you for having this conversation with me. I know this is just thrilling for you to do,
Mhm.
but I know you
Well,
also see the value of letting people know they're not alone. And hopefully somebody's friend
absolutely.
will see this and go, okay, really what I have to do, maybe that friend needs to get another friend to help encourage them so they can help that widow or widower or somebody that
Mhm.
has a loved one, and because they do want to be there. So those are some good tips. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime.
Hello. We just finished Widowhood Real Talk with Tina with my friend Jennifer Marriner. And she is not like public speaking, but what she does is love me. And she loves the mission that we're on here with Widowhood Real Talk. And she opened herself up and shared some things from her heart. Thank you for being here with us and heading off to our next conversation. I hope you have a good day. Bye.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.